Our next presentation is a remote presentation with Brad Bigelow and Arend Smit. Arend Smit. They're joining us from Belgium. They're online right now, and I'm going to switch over to a pretty picture here for us since we don't have an image of them. But if you guys are on the line and you want to get started, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much. This is Arend Smit. Good afternoon, all.
Hi, and this is
Brad and myself. Can you hear me?
If you get maybe just a little closer to your microphone or your handset.
How about this?
That's much better. Thank you.
We will take you on a little history tour this time after hearing very current events from previous speakers. We would like to look back about and tell you about NATO's experience with IV&V. First, a little recollection for those who are not too familiar with this, but NATO has been established in 1949, when the term software assurance didn't exist yet, and let alone IV&V. There were 12 nations involved in founding NATO, but since then it has not had much room to do its current membership of 28. And it is headquartered in Brussels, where right now, but I'm not at the headquarters. NATO has been intimately involved in software development from a very early stage. And back in 1968, they had a conference that was entitled Software Engineering, and it coined the phrase. And the report that came from this conference contained a checklist on software assurance that would read rather familiar to anyone in this audience looking at it. They are the usual suspects. So in 45 years, you see that we are still concerned about basically the same issue. The part of NATO that concerns itself with software quality is the NATO Communications and Information Agency, or NCI agency, which in the process of the significant transformation that NATO is going through at the moment was established by merging a number of smaller agencies that concern themselves with NATO's information services and networks into this one single body that now has over 3,500 staff, military and civilian, distributed over a number of locations on several continents. This agency serves primarily the military department, obviously, but also the mission, the NATO military operations, and there are several theaters where we are active at the moment. And the NCI agency also supports the NATO nations in as far as their information requirements have interfaces with the NATO organization. In the previous millennium, software assurance was basically an internal affair for the 10 different NATO agencies that concern themselves with the information provision for the organization. But in the course of time, when the project became more and more complex, several NATO member nations expressed concern about the capacity and independence of their internal quality functions. And at the beginning of this millennium, the decision was taken to actually hire a separate company to do independent quality assurance. This was the first IV&V contractor that was hired, primarily for classical IV&V tasks like reviewing key and witnessing time contactless testing activities, also conducting testing of their own, and asking poignant questions during milestone reviews with the main contact. It appeared very soon in this first experience with IV&V on the part of NATO, that it yielded real benefit by fast turnaround time on staff deliverables on the part of the contractor, main contractor, and improvement in the quality of the technical support, as well as more attention to data-driven design and development. In other words, it kept the main contractor on its feet. In addition to the early positive experience with IV&V, the independent contractor for IV&V, NATO found several opportunities for improving the use of the IV&V contractor by broadening the scope to include the preparation of solicitation material. So instead of hiring a contractor for just the execution phase, and dealing with problems that already developed in the preceding phase as they came, try to avoid these problems from appearing to begin with by having an IV&V view on the solicitation materials before they are put to market. This includes checking the quality of statements of work and the requirements. And in addition to that, also prior to contract execution, involve already the IV&V contractor in checking the winning bid against by them already as a specified requirement. Now, I give the floor to my co-presenter, Brad.
Thank you, Arend.
Thank you, Arend.
After this initial experience using IV&V on a project-by-project basis, we launched an initiative to establish our first real program management integration capability for the program that I managed for a number of years. We call the Bi-Strategic Command Automated
what we call the Bi-Strategic Command
Automated
Systems.
This is a cluster of projects that cover essentially the full span of information services and systems used in NATO military command. So it's everything from installations of PCs and server farms, local area network services, farms, standard information management, to finance and personnel applications, and finally to command and control, situational awareness, applications, etc.
Organizing and coordinating.
The program itself supports around
the program itself supports.
We have interfaces to all the member nations.
We have interfaces to all the member
operational
nations.
and tactical level systems in the nation.
Operational and tactical
national
systems in the nation.
Well as throughout our command.
National capitals.
It's a large rolling program.
It's a large
continually implementing as it's
continually
planning
as
it's
in the process.
We typically have over 100 active projects.
We typically have over 100 active projects.
Project initiation to
anywhere from
final
project initiation to final acceptance of the project.
And there were three when we implemented this project management.
There were three when we
was an external suggestion coming from NATO Headquarters staff that said, if you're going to be bringing a contractor on board,
if you're going to be bringing a contractor on board who's going to be responsible for program office
key integration functions like configuration management,
and management
of the program test bed, that it
and
made
management
sense
of
to
program test
employ
bed,
them as well
it
as
made
the
sense to
IV&V staff.
employ them as well
And
as
the
the
way
IVP
we
staff.
implemented this was,
And
I
the
think
way
there were
we
three key aspects
implemented
we
this
found that
was, I
significant
think there were
benefit
three key
opposed
aspects
to
we
the
found. There
project
was a
by project
significant
approach.
benefit opposed to the
The first is that the IV&V
approach.
staff work
The
for the
first
program
is that the
manager and
IVP
not for the
staff
project manager.
work
So
for
the
the
individual
program
project
manager,
managers
not
were
for the
being
project
supported
manager.
now
So
by
the individual
IV&V
project
rather
managers
than
are being
being able to
supported
control
now by
those resources
IVP
directly,
rather than
which
being able to
might
control those
sound like
resources directly,
upper
which
management
might
interference,
sound
but
like
what it really meant was
upper
that
management
generally the
interference,
project
but what it
manager was
really meant
relatively
was that
limited in what they
generally
could
the
do to
project
address
manager was
issues.
relatively limited in
So
what they could do to address
it allowed
issues.
the
So
IV&V staff to flag
it allowed
issues
the
early, and
IVP
as the
staff to
program
flag
manager,
issues
I could
as
decide
the
to apply
program
resources
manager
against the problem very
decide
early
to
on,
apply
whereas
resources
beyond the
against the
scope of
problem
what
very early
the
on,
project
whereas it
manager
might
had
be
available.
beyond the scope of what the project manager had available through contingency
We also had
resources.
IV&V resources managed as a pool
We also had
program level.
IVP resources
So
managed as a
we had
pool at
a
the
rolling
program level.
program
So
to
we had
make sure that
a rolling
the
program
capabilities
to make sure that the
available and kind of
capabilities
dynamically
were
managed as the
available and kind of dynamically
came and went.
managed as
We had the
the
opportunity
problems
to
came and went. We had the opportunity
look at issues as they were emerging,
to
and
look at
shift
issues
the
as they were
resources to
emerging
those issues,
and
and
reshift the
it
resources
really allowed
to
us
those
to kind of
issues.
deal with
And
the fact that with
it
that
really
number of
allowed us to
projects
kind of
running in
deal with the
parallel,
fact that with
you
that number of
just can't
projects
set a
running in
planned program
parallel,
of
you
allocation
just
of
can't set
resources
a planned program
expected
of
to be
allocation of
valid and
resources
viable
and expect it to
for
be valid and viable
changes
for
are going on.
as the
And
changes
also having the same contract
are going
with
on.
program and IV&V support
And also
meant that we
having
had
the
the
same contract
capability
with program and
to
IVP support meant that we had the
have the
capability
team work really
to
collaboratively. So
have the team
there were
work
cases
really
where, in
collaboratively.
particular,
So
we had certain types of
there were
expertise
cases
like
where, in
software,
particular,
that,
we had certain types of
quality
expertise like
assurance
software
that would have been difficult to
software
achieve
quality assurance that
persistence
would have been
at a
difficult to
significant
achieve
level of expertise
the
and
persistence
availability
at a
if it's
significant
only
level
managed at the
of
project level
expertise
by
and
having that resource
availability
available to
if
be
it's
used
only
across the
managed at the
program.
project level by
We could
having that
actually bring in
resource
some of
available to be used across the
let's say,
program. We could actually
the
bring
lower
in some of
lower
let's
density,
say
higher cost skill set.
the lower density,
And
higher cost
our
skill
results from
sets.
this, we've been running with this approach
And
for
our results
3
from
years
this, we've
now,
been running with this
and they've been
approach
very,
for
very
about
positive. We
3
certainly have
years
seen the
now,
benefits
and
from
they've been
the
very, very
workload
positive.
balancing
We
side,
certainly
with
have
fewer
seen the
peaks and valleys.
benefits from the
And
workload balancing
V&V
side
tends to
with
be
fewer
something where you
peaks and
have a
valleys,
surge,
and because
particularly as
V&V tends to
deliverables
be
are
something where you have a surge, for particularly as deliverables
expected,
are
so
coming
we
in
can
and needing
balance
to
that
be
out across
inspected and
the project.
reviewed. So we can balance that out.
Compensate for the differences we
Projects.
see in project
We
timelines.
certainly compensates for
Rarely
the
have
differences we see in project
multiple
timelines
projects all
because
going
we rarely
through
have
critical design.
multiple projects all going through critical design review, for example, within
And
the
again,
space of the same
ability to bring in
week
the
or
less
so.
common, higher cost.
And again, ability to bring in the less common, higher
And it
cost
also
experts
allowed us
at
to
the program
adapt to the
level.
changing project needs.
And it also
There are
allowed us
cases
to
where
adapt to the changing project needs
QA
because
crisis
there are cases where you
emerging
have
where it's clear
a
that
QA crisis, so to
very,
speak,
very close.
emerging where it's clear that there is a need for very, very close oversight and control, and where you need to kind of surge the V&V team to address these issues.
With that, I'll turn it over to Arend, who will now talk about how
So with that, I'll turn it over
we're
to Arend,
using
who will now
V&V
talk about
support
how
for a very
we're using V&V support for a very, really the biggest construction project NATO has ever undertaken. This is our construction of our new NATO headquarters in Brussels.
Arend, over to you.
Arend,
Thank you, Brad.
over to you.